Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Brian Altano. I'm joined with Samuel Claiborne.
We're joined at the wrist.
We are joined, and in honor of Nintendo's 125th anniversary, we here at IGN thought we'd do a bunch of Let's Plays for some of the most iconic games in Nintendo history. And yes, Kid Icarus made the list.
Yeah.
Kid Icarus probably wouldn't have been in a lot of people's vernacular a few years ago, although I did love it growing up. But we saw this character return, Pit, in Smash Brothers recently.
Now, also before that, in Captain N, the Game Master.
That's right. Much less notable, but still.
That was one of my favorite cartoons.
Me
honestly.
too. Yeah, it was weird. That was back
he
when
had
there
this
used to be
fake
shows like that.
What was it? He had his he would say "coolest to the Maximus."
So this game's got a special place in my heart. I played it a lot growing up, and it took me a few years to realize I was playing it wrong. It's not an action platforming game, although it may look like that.
Yeah.
It actually is kind of more like an RPG.
Yep, it's a platformer RPG, very much like its kind of sister game, Metroid.
Yeah, that's right. So you'll see the hearts here that Sam's collecting that can also get turned into these hammers that you use to break open things to collect more hearts and items. Now, the amount of hearts you get actually help you level up at the end of each stage. You get judged based on how many points you get. And doing this makes you progress through the game much easier because your character becomes more powerful. Now, I never knew a lot of this growing up, so the game was incredibly difficult for me.
Yeah, you just go in the shops and be like, "Oh, I can't afford anything."
Yeah,
But
exactly.
then you just learn how to grind, and I'm not really doing right now. But one really accessible version of, and we're just playing the straight up NES version.
Yeah.
This is plugged into a console with an NES controller. One of the best ways to play this is on 3DS, actually.
Yeah.
I love this guy's pattern. He turns around for good. Then, oh, he saw me. Screwed.
So this is the Eggplant Wizard.
This used to
oh wait, no, that's not
freak
the
me out
Eggplant
when I was a
Wizard.
kid.
This is what's his name? Death, right?
Yeah, he's like the Grim Reaper. But what I was gonna say is that there's a great version of this on 3DS.
Yeah.
And on that version, you can float a little bit when you fall.
Yep.
It just makes all the precision jumping much better.
Yeah,
I
it's a little easier. It's part of their 3D Classics line.
And you can really explore the game better that way. I just think it's a better version. I need that chalice.
You mean the glass of red wine that
Yeah.
Pit likes to drink, even though he's a young boy.
Yeah.
Alcoholism is okay in this
But
world.
now I can just duck out of here.
So yeah, this game is very interesting to me because people always say Nintendo milks their franchises and stuff like that, and we didn't. We saw Kid Icarus, and a few years later we saw of Myth and Monsters, which was the sequel on Game Boy.
Which is really good too. I actually unlike
is.
Metroid 2, which I don't really like on Game Boy very much.
Yeah.
Myth and Monsters is really not colorful. It's really graphically pretty, and it's really fun to play, and it's much more exploration based because you can go back.
Yeah.
And this you can only go forward.
Those are the only two Kid Icarus games ever made until the 3DS version a few years ago, which kind of worked in conjunction with, happening around the same time as Smash Brothers and Pit's return in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. We've seen like 15 Mario games and Zelda games every year since the early 80s, but not a whole lot of Kid Icarus. So it's kind of got a special place in my heart because it's something we haven't seen a ton of, and I would really love to see more of. I think I like where the franchise is going.
Kid Icarus, he's going to see me. Oh, I got past it.
Nice work.
This came out in 1987, which makes it an early NES game, but the NES had been out for 3 years already in Japan.
Yeah.
So they had some development under their belts by the time they put out this game. Nintendo R&D 1 worked on it, and notably Yoshio Sakamoto, who worked on Metroid, worked on it, and who's still working on Metroid games, by the way. He made Other M. He produced it. Also, Gunpei Yokoi worked on it, who designed the Game Boy and became one of Nintendo's most integral people. He even with Nintendo, I think since the 60s, he made toys for Nintendo forever. And then, so he was involved in this game too. And then the music is by Hirokazu Tanaka, I believe is his name.
Yep.
And he did the music for so many great games, and he did specifically music for Metroid, which I think is some of the best music ever made.
I just want to say you did a really good job of getting through that first level without dying, because that's it's not easy to do.
Yeah,
this is a very tough game. The platforming aspects of it actually get tougher.
You know a game is tough when the second level has ice in it.
Yeah, what the hell? So I have a very kind of funny, very sad personal anecdote about this game. When I was growing up, this was one of my favorite games. I got it with the original NES, and I love these giant noses you got to fight. So the game's full of these little challenge rooms. So I invited a friend, I think his name was Dan Fisher, over, and we played this game all afternoon. And when he left, the game went missing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It was your game.
It was my game. And I was like, he stole my game. So I stopped being friends with him. He wouldn't admit it. For years, he was just like, I didn't steal your game. We stopped hanging out. He never came to my house again.
But you guys knew each other. Like that was a bad thing. I mean, he couldn't have possibly gotten away with it.
Yeah, it was like, why would you do that? But you know, kids are stupid and they do dumb things.
Yeah.
So he left, and for years I didn't talk to him. And about 15 years later, we got a new TV in the living room. And we went to move the old TV out, and a compartment from the TV, because TVs were made of wood back then, fell out, and Kid Icarus fell out of the back of it, covered in dust and cat hair.
Oh my gosh! And an NES game was a valuable commodity then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's serious.
Yeah, and I lost a friendship with a value commodity
and you
too.
did you just snub him, or did you bring it up?
By then he had already switched towns and moved schools. I never saw him again.
Oh man.
So yeah, I'm sorry, man, if you're out there. Yeah, Kid Icarus is a great game.
My personal take on Kid Icarus is this is one of my favorite like rentals. You know, you used to be able to rent from a drugstore.
Yeah, yeah.
And or something like that, or like a supermarket. I just remember going to the supermarket and just getting this game over and over and over again. I never really got past level 3, but then there's codes that you could put in, like Metroid, to get pretty far. And one of my favorites is Danger, Terror, Horror.
Yeah.
All exclamation
points. And then
there's
one of the passwords is Icarus fights Medusa's angels, which brings you to the last stage of the game, like completely powered with all the upgrades for your suit and for your arrows and everything.
You know what? We should wrap this up. Oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
We should wrap this up, but maybe I might just fall on my sword here because I kind of want to show what happens when you die in this game. So I'm going to let this last guy kill me. I also like how you can move around when you duck.
I know.
Oh, by the way, the temples in this game are fully exploratory. They're not platform-based, really.
Oh, yeah.
You, like,
so
go around in them.
Is it every 4 stages?
Yeah. There's a really cool Zelda-style dungeon layout. Like, it's really complicated. You can draw maps for it.
Yep.
It's super worth it.
They're very difficult too, and you actually do draw maps because the items that you get in the levels are
exactly.
You get maps and pencils, and you can actually
like
mark where you are on the map. But you can't see the map unless you get a torch. So there's 3 items just to tell you where you are. Another cool little Easter egg here, if you plug in a second controller...
I could have filled my life up here. I'm doing pretty well in this.
If you plug in a second controller on most of these shops and you hit, I believe, start and select, the shopkeeper will either drop the prices dramatically or he'll be like, what are you trying to rip me off? And he'll double the prices. Yeah. So it goes either way.
Look at those statues on the right there. Like this game also kind of freaked me out for its design. Like I didn't... Oh, here we go.
Yeah. And I do love
I'm finished.
I'm finished. I do love the sort of Pac-Man-esque run to the left of the screen and show up on the right.
Yeah.
It actually comes into play a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is Kid Icarus. It came out for the original Nintendo Entertainment System. There was a sequel called Myth and Monsters on Game Boy, and then there was Kid Icarus on 3DS. And those are the only 3 Kid Icarus games in existence. Pit is obviously in Smash Brothers again. We're excited for that.
I think this is the one, man.
Yeah,
I think this game. I mean, I like that Game Boy one, but like, if you have to play a Kid Icarus game,
this is the one.
I didn't like the one.
It's hard as hell. Just stick with it, grind, collect a lot of hearts.
Try to grab that game, the 3DS one. I'm telling you, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yep.
You can save.
Yep.
It's really nice.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kid Icarus. For all things Kid Icarus and the top 125 Nintendo games of all time, keep it locked right here to IGN.
Coolest to the Maximus.